All right, folks. So I want to talk before I do the new moon in Cancer video, which I'm going to do tomorrow. I said I was going to focus a little bit on. Um, sorry, my window is at its widest open setting, just so you guys know. So there might be some ambient noise that I certainly am going to pick on as if it's happening right in my ear, as you guys know. Otherwise, my apologies. It's been a really hot day, and I've had the AC on for a lot of the day, and I think it's time to have the windows open, and my cat, who's sitting here, certainly enjoying having the windows open. It's a little bit cooler. Not that you asked. And for that particular person who's so exhausted by my qualifications, etc., I'm so sorry. I'm not doing this to be naughty, but you know. All right, let's dive in. One of the things I wanted to tell you is I had this epiphany, and as I've been meditating on the tarot cards that I'm unsure of, and I realized that I'm going to experiment with it. But when I get this kind of feeling, I know the Lover's card. This is why I like doing these videos on a day-by-day basis. I can pick up from where I left off yesterday. So if some of this, if this is the first video of mine you're seeing, some of this you're going to be like, what is he talking about? It's going to be over in a couple of minutes, and we're going to dive into the astrology. But for those of you yesterday, when I mentioned that the card for July is the Lover's card, and I asked you for your input of what that card could stand for outside of the obvious meaning. And as I thought about today, I realized that I think what it stands for me, and is going to stand for me moving forward, is what we love and who we love to some extent, and not quite in a familial or a parental or a child self. The Lover's card is the Lover's card, but certainly also what we love. Now, the Lover's card has stood for the lovers, and it has stood for some people, the choice, or a crossroads, or a choice between two options or two potential possibilities. But when I have that kind of a moment where I'm just like, oh, it feels very clarifying. So I thought I would share that little epiphany I had earlier today. Before I do, I'd said to me yesterday that I would do a video on Uranus trining Pluto in 2026, and I'm gonna, we're not feeling that yet, and even the way that we're going to feel it this year is going to be as a very slight drumbeat in the background as we headed towards August and September. So we have time to get to that. It's still 2024. But I think it's more important that I get the new moon in Cancer video out, since the new moon in Cancer is on July the 5th, Friday. But before I do that, I wanted to do this overview of the aspects the personal planets are going to be making as they transit through the sign of Leo. Mercury enters Leo today, on the 2nd of July. Am I crazy? Let's just confirm that for you guys. Don't answer the question that I just asked as to whether I'm crazy or not. Yes, on July the 2nd, Mercury. And then tomorrow, Mercury is going to oppose Pluto. And we covered the oppositions to Pluto and some of this stuff in yesterday's weekly overview video that I posted. As the planets enter the sign of Leo, and it's going to be Mercury and then Venus and the Sun, and we're going to have the new moon in Leo on August the 4th, which in and of itself is okay as a new moon, except that on August the 5th, Mercury goes retrograde. Some of the transits I'm going to talk about only give further evidence as to why astrologically July continues to have a certain amount of forward movement and more flow and more positive juju and sense of opportunity and what we should be going towards, even though those oppositions to Pluto, as the planets move from Cancer into Leo and enter Leo, the first thing they're going to do when they enter Leo is oppose Pluto. And that I talked about yesterday, we're going to continue to talk about. That is not an easy opposition, decidedly. So as I said, this could very well be a week, and over the next 3 or 4 weeks, we may feel a certain unease with a certain power dynamic that is playing out. A certain transformation and how to serve that transformation. And I will develop that further. But as Mercury and then the Sun Mercury and Venus and the Sun come into Leo, and we have the new moon on August the 4th. And then later on in the year, we have Mars entering Leo and then retrograding in Leo and going into Cancer and coming back again. the following aspects are going to be made. First and foremost, the planets as they enter Leo will oppose Pluto in Aquarius. Then they will trine the North Node in Aries, which is lovely. Then they will trine Chiron in Aries, lovely, and they will square Uranus in Taurus. Now, a square to Uranus can, that's outside of the opposition to Pluto, which we discussed yesterday. The square to Uranus is the one other tense aspect, but a square to Uranus can also bring a requirement for action in a direction that is very true, very authentic to us, that is full of opportunity, that's full of quantum leaps of understanding, but also kind of quantum leaps towards moving towards our own individual path in the Taurus part of the chart. So as the planets have cleared through the Sun, Mercury, Venus, have cleared through Gemini and made their kind of awkward and stressful squares to Saturn and Neptune, as they've entered Cancer, which is where they largely are. Venus is still in Cancer, the Sun is in Cancer, we have the new moon in Cancer on July the 5th. They are now trining Saturn and Neptune, but they do square the nodes and Chiron, and this energy is present this week. As they enter Leo, the aspects outside of that opposition to Pluto, which is because Pluto's at the very first degree of Aquarius, retrograding back into the last degree of Capricorn, you could take that as a Cancer aspect or a Leo aspect. It's right at as the planets move to the cusp between Cancer and Leo, they're going to oppose Pluto, which is on the cusp between Capricorn and Aquarius. Outside of that, the aspects that they're going to make are full of possibility. Trining the North Node means trining the direction that we have been trying to move towards and go towards since April the 19th of last year. And there's a whole arc that I've been talking about in a lot of my videos. I readdressed this yesterday in the weekly overview that takes us to the end of the first week of June in 2025. Trining Chiron has a similar support for a healing that is meant to occur in that same direction in the Aries part of the chart, the house occupied by Aries, and what that house stands for. Remember that on April 8th of this year, the new moon solar eclipse in Aries, which is the eclipse cycle that we're currently under, conjuncted Chiron to the minute. So there's a lot of return to our original, unwounded, unsullied self with regard to that Aries part of the chart, the house occupied by Aries. That gets supported from the Leo part of the chart. Both the expansive parts of the chart, till May the 25th, we had Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus. The opportunity was all in the Aries part of the chart with the North Node and the North Node eclipses there, and Jupiter and Uranus in the Taurus part of the chart. And the North Node eclipses in Taurus, the last one was on October 23rd to October 28th of 2023. We're getting more distance from it, but late last year. So from the sign of Leo, the aspects that are being made towards that forward moving direction. From the sign of Leo, I am not concerned about aspects being made to Saturn or Neptune. So the energy stands to be more balanced, opportunity, healing, our own individual path. All of these things become activated again, whereas since June our energy has turned to heavier topics, the crisis in the Pisces part of the chart, the stabilization that Saturn has been requiring, the countering the providing structure to either moving towards an artistic or spiritual direction. By now you guys can recite this along with me because we've talked about it so much, and we'll have to talk about it again as we head to the middle of July. The middle of July, Mercury enters its shadow period for its retrograde, and the week before and after July the 16th may carry a certain resonance for the July the 17th may carry some resonance related to the September 17th eclipse in Pisces. So we'll be coming back to the sign of Pisces, but it'll be nice to have July with the planets moving into Leo. Mercury moves into Leo today. Venus moves into Leo, Hold your horses, everybody. Sorry. Soon enough. Mercury moves into Leo on oh, this is not, I'm so sorry. Venus moves into Leo on July the 11th. Another 9 days. The Sun moves into Leo on the 22nd. So progressively, as we head towards August, some of these aspects will get made in August, understandably. The Mercury retrograde, the aspect that it's really going to make 3 times is going to be, I think, the trine to Chiron and the square to Uranus, based on the degrees that it's going to cover. It's not going to trine the North Node again. But when Mars retrogrades later this year, it will trine the North Node 3 times. It will trine Saturn. It will trine Neptune. It will oppose Pluto 3 times. So a lot of this energy that we're feeling now, later on in the year, November, December, January, February, when Mars is going through the signs of Cancer and Leo and comes back, is going to come back perhaps in a more decisive way, in a more action-oriented way, in a way where we are really being able to put the lid on something, pursue goals in a certain direction, revise our goals in that direction, and also deal with conflict and opportunity, pursue the opportunity to stabilize the Pisces part of the chart, pursue the opportunity to continue to move towards the North Node in Aries, the Aries part of the chart from the Leo part of the chart. But that opposition to Pluto also promises, especially with Mars in the mix, that's when we really get to see and experience the transformation that these oppositions to Pluto are bringing up for consideration. Mercury opposing Pluto tomorrow, and then Venus and the Sun as they enter into Leo. Excuse me for 1 second. There's just an error in my notes here, which is really kind of distressing me and pissing me off, but that's okay. And that's it. I mean, can you believe it? A 13-minute video. The reason why I wanted to do this now and give you a heads up and an overview as to, I'm not going to give you dates for all that, because then these videos just turn into a litany of dates. But I think it's important for us to at least know and consider that during the month of July, we will have Mercury and Venus trining that North Node. And that's really helpful. It puts the energy back towards, will you bear with me? There's something I want to check. That puts the energy back towards looking at that direction that we want to move in, that sense of opportunity, that sense of what is next, so what am I being called to do, that overall narrative that I've been discussing time and time again from April 2023 to June 2025, and us feeling a sense of flow towards that opportunity at least allows us to be entertaining energetically, more positive, more future-oriented, more exciting, more adventurous possibilities, the new that we've been trying to move towards and create, while dealing with the heaviness of stabilizing the Pisces part of the chart, the house occupied by Pisces. And as I said, the square to Uranus doesn't bother me. As the planets later on, as they cross through Leo and move into Virgo, they will oppose Saturn and Neptune, but they also then stand to trine Uranus. So again, these trines and squares are going to start to balance out. We're gonna see a set of tense aspects and a sense of harmonious aspects, kind of balancing the energy a little bit more than we did have in June. So once again, planets moving into Leo oppose Pluto, trine the North Node, trine Chiron, square Uranus, which will demand action, but should mean that demands action because the possibilities presented for us are exciting, individual, true to us. Yeah, that's what I had to say. Now I am going to, like I sometimes do on my laptop, I'm sort of feeling compelled to research something. So will you, please, would you mind, just bear with me for a second, because I want to give you a, just check on something for myself. You're like, oh my God, why is he wasting my time? Well, I don't know if that's what you're saying. If that's what you're saying, then that's silly. Venus will both, this is what I wanted to say. That's just silly. Venus will both, you will, by the end of July, have both Venus and the Sun. The Sun is going to trine the North Node close to July the 31st. If you look at the North Node, it's a true node on the 31st. Venus, by the end of July, will have trined both the North Node and Chiron. That is what I wanted to tell you. So Mercury will trine the North Node and trine Chiron and square Uranus during July. Venus will trine the North Node and Chiron, and the Sun will trine the North Node. I mean, I'm happy to be the bearer of some more expansive transits. The fly in the ointment that we're all going to be dealing with, and the transit that's going to create a certain amount of heaviness and anxiety, of course, are going to be those oppositions to Pluto. But outside of Mars later on this year, at least once those oppositions to Pluto are done, dealt with, and cleared, no planet is going back to revisit that opposition. And after that opposition, as the planets move from Leo into Virgo, we at least then can entertain the possibility and the truth of a trine to Pluto soon enough, which will be nice. All right, folks, this is a slightly more technical video, and for people who are not very familiar with all this terminology, I think it's just a video that establishes that, along with some of the energy in June that was heavier, a little bit more blocked, a little bit harder to access, perhaps a certain amount of productivity, where it is that we might have been challenged in certain ways, the energy in July, while it still continues to have certain squares and certain aspects intermingled with what I just shared that are stressful, they at least start to bring into the equation the movement towards what is new and what we're trying to build and what we're trying to go towards. Just remember that we don't really reach that final destination, and we may not know exactly what that destination looks like until the middle of next year. But I do expect that the journey in that direction will accelerate starting September, and even more after October, and really between the middle of November to the middle of April, we're going to be in the heart of the birth canal that's going to spit us out at the other end, and we can then look back at the eclipse journey that started on April 19th, 2023 and close it out. But it'll be nice to start to feel a direction to move towards in July. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. If you found this video useful or helpful, you're welcome to share it, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already, click on the bell icon next to the subscribe button and the wiggly bell on top. You'll be notified whenever I do new videos. You can use the thanks button below to contribute to the channel if you'd like me to take a look at your birth chart and do a reading for you, or create an easy to read version of your birth chart. You can write to me at the email address in the description box below, inquiring about rates and offerings, and I can give you that information. Feel free to comment, like the video, it gives it more circulation on YouTube. A video less than 20 minutes. Hard to believe, but true. The reason why I have done this is because the new moon in Cancer in and of itself, and that's the video I'm going to do tomorrow, trine Saturn in Pisces. That's the primary aspect that it makes. But encoded into that new moon are two lovely trines. And one of those trines is Mercury in Leo trining the North Node. Sorry, I was reminded that the one other aspect, Venus is going to square Chiron, which is fine, but we've got Jupiter trining the South Node, which again puts us in that eclipsy framework. And I'm being very brief about this here. Please know that in tomorrow's video I will expand on this. But the new moon in Gemini encoded a lot of more stressful aspects, and that cycle ends on July the 5th, and the July the 5th new moon in it of itself has a harmonious transit to Saturn, which we will take any day, over a stressful aspect to Saturn. And the three other aspects occurring around that new moon and that are encoded in it, one of them is Mercury in Leo trining the North Node in Aries, which I am happy to see, and Jupiter in Gemini trining the South Node in Libra, which I'm happy to see. It puts the energy of where we are actually going and where we can experience expansiveness and forward movement back on the table for us between July the 5th and August the 4th. And reinforces this idea that as we, in the US especially, get past the July the 4th holiday, keep in mind that the next 48 to 72 hours is going to feel flatter and flatter and harder to get things done and dreamier. The moon is getting darker and darker after the new moon on Friday, and once you make it past the weekend, it's really time to move towards constructing that new reality and moving towards opportunity. And yes, there are going to be aspects that are going to be stressful and challenging with the oppositions to Pluto. There will be squares to Chiron, and there will be aspects that will be challenged that we'll keep looking at as we move forward. But it's nice to be moving towards a new moon and a month that has some easier, more harmonious aspects encoded in it. So that's why I wanted to go ahead and at least give you a sense of where these planets in Leo, what they're going to be doing, before I discuss this one trine between Mercury and the North Node tomorrow. Okay, you have context now. I will see you later. I will get out of here. Thanks. Bye.